The council chamber smelled like burnt ozone and regret. 14 species sat in their assigned pods, trying very hard not to look at the humans sitting in the center of the room. The humans, for their part, looked tired. Not angry, not frustrated, just tired. Which, if you knew anything about humans, was when you should start worrying. Ambassador Velkrin of the Korath Dominion cleared his four throats nervously. He had been appointed to deliver the council's latest demand, and he was beginning to suspect this was less an honor and more a death sentence. Ambassador Hayes, Velkrin began, his translator struggling with the human's simple name. The council has reviewed your species' recent military actions, and we have determined that humanity has once again violated Protocol 7-3-9. Marcus Hayes, a man who looked like he had not slept in 3 weeks, slowly raised his head. Protocol 7-3-9. Correct. The Excessive Force Limitation Accord. Hayes blinked. Once. Twice. Then he did something that made every alien in the room flinch. He laughed. Not a polite chuckle, not a nervous giggle, but a full, genuine laugh that echoed off the crystalline walls. "I'm sorry," Hayes said, wiping his eyes. "I just need to make sure I understand this correctly. You're upset about excessive force. The Kravik pirates you encountered were in a single frigate. You destroyed them with a dreadnought-class vessel. They had hostages, Velkrin. Nevertheless, the response was disproportionate according to Council guidelines. We must insist on a formal apology and reparations to the Kravik Collective." Hayes stood up. He was not a tall man by human standards, maybe 5'9", but somehow he seemed to fill the entire chamber. Reparations. To the pirates, who were holding 260 Telvorian civilians in cargo containers. Without life support. Velkrin's translator made an uncomfortable buzzing sound. The Kravik Collective has filed a complaint stating that the pirates were acting independently and should not reflect on their species as a whole. They demand 12 million credits in damages. That was when Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the human legal advisor, stood up beside Hayes. She was smaller than him, wearing glasses that kept sliding down her nose, and she was holding a data pad that looked older than some of the species in the room. "Oh good," she said, her voice dripping with enough sarcasm to corrode hull plating. "We're doing this again. Ambassador Hayes, may I?" Hayes gestured broadly. "Please." Tanaka tapped her ancient data pad. "Let's see. In the last Galactic Standard year, humanity has been fined 17 times for excessive force, 12 times for improper diplomatic protocol, 8 times for violating trade restrictions that we never agreed to, and my personal favorite, 4 times for being too loud during council sessions." She looked up, her smile sharp enough to cut atmosphere. "Would anyone like to guess how many times humanity has filed complaints with this council?" Silence. 246, Tanaka continued. "Would anyone like to guess how many of those complaints resulted in action?" More silence. "I will save you the suspense." 0. Not a single one. "But you know what? We paid the fines. Every single time. We apologized when you told us to apologize. We followed your protocols, even the ones that made no sense. We did everything you asked, because we believed in this council. We believed in galactic unity." Velkrin's scales had started to turn a pale yellow, which in Korath biology meant extreme discomfort. "Dr. Tanaka, I understand your frustration, but the rules must apply to everyone equally." "Equally," Hayes repeated, his voice flat. "Velkrin, 3 months ago, a Korath merchant vessel dumped toxic waste in the Terran outer colonies. Contaminated an entire moon. We lost 4,000 people to radiation poisoning. We filed a complaint. Do you remember what happened?" The Korath ambassador said nothing. "I'll remind you. The council determined it was an accident. No fines. No reparations. The merchant responsible got a formal warning. That's it. That was determined to be unintentional," Velkrin protested weakly. "And the Kravik pirates were what? Accidentally holding hostages? Accidentally demanding ransom? Accidentally threatening to space civilians if we didn't withdraw our ships?" Hayes leaned forward. "Here's what's going to happen. We're not paying this fine. We're not apologizing. And if the Council has a problem with that, they can file it under things we no longer care about. The chamber erupted. 14 species started speaking, shouting, demanding at once. The translator systems crashed twice trying to keep up. Through it all, Hayes and Tanaka just stood there, calm as still water, while the Council lost its collective mind. Finally, High Chancellor Moore 6, a floating jellyfish creature in a containment sphere, activated the emergency silence protocol. The chamber's sound dampeners kicked in, reducing everyone to furious mime impressions. When Moore 6 finally spoke, his voice carried the weight of 2,000 years of galactic authority. Ambassador Hayes, are you truly prepared to face the consequences of defying this council? Hayes looked at Tanaka. Tanaka looked at Hayes. They both smiled the kind of smile that made prey animals nervous. Chancellor, Hayes said calmly, we're done asking for permission. The silence that followed was the kind you could bottle and sell as a weapon. High Chancellor Morsix's containment sphere pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that his species used to express disbelief. Around the chamber, every delegate had frozen in their pods like someone had hit the pause button on reality. Ambassador Velkrin found his voice first, though it came out about 3 octaves higher than normal. You cannot simply refuse council authority. The galactic legal framework depends on universal compliance. Does it though? Dr. Tanaka adjusted her glasses, which had slid down again. She looked less like a lawyer and more like a teacher about to explain why 2 + 2 = 4 to a particularly stubborn student. Because from where we are standing, it looks like the framework depends on humanity being the only species that actually follows the rules. That is absurd, came a voice from the Hestrovan pod. Ambassador Quillix, all 6 of his eye stalks quivering with indignation. Every species here adheres to council law. Hayes pulled out his own data pad. This one looked newer, sleeker, and definitely more expensive than Tanaka's fossil. 3 weeks ago, the Hestrovan Mining Consortium established operations in the disputed Sector 12. You know what's in Sector 12, Quillix? The eye stalks stopped quivering. According to Council Charter Section 4, subsection 22, the disputed sectors are protected zones where no commercial activity is permitted pending resolution of territorial claims. But I guess that rule is more like a suggestion when the minerals involved are worth 8 billion credits. That matter is under review, Quillix sputtered. For 6 months. Meanwhile, your ships are pulling out enough tritanium to build a fleet. Hayes looked around the chamber. Anyone else want to talk about rules? Because I brought a list, and it is long enough to reach from here to Earth. Morsix's sphere pulsed red, which meant he was getting angry. Good. The humans had been angry for quite some time now, and misery loved company. What exactly are you proposing, Ambassador Hayes? That humanity simply ignores council authority whenever it suits you. No, Hayes said simply. We are proposing that council authority starts meaning something. Real consequences. Real accountability. For everyone. And if we refuse? Tanaka smiled. It was not a nice smile. Then we stop paying the fines. We stop following the protocols. We stop showing up to these meetings where you tell us we are doing everything wrong while you do whatever you want. We go home, close our borders, and you can all deal with your own problems for a change. That got their attention. Several delegates started talking at once, but Morsix's dampeners kept them muted. The Chancellor's voice carried across the chamber like ice water. You would threaten isolation? Humanity benefits enormously from council membership. Trade agreements, technology sharing, mutual defense pacts. Funny thing about those defense pacts, Hayes said, pulling up another file on his pad. Do you want to know how many times humanity has responded to council defense requests in the last 5 years? 37. Do you want to know how many times other council species have responded to human requests? 4. And 3 of those were the Telvorians, who we just saved from pirates. A small voice came from one of the back pods. Ambassador Kirin of Telvoria, barely audible even with the translators. We are grateful for what humanity did. The council should not be punishing them for saving our people. Thank you, Kirin, Tanaka said gently. Then her voice hardened as she looked back at Moore 6. But gratitude does not seem to count for much here, does it? Results do not count. Following the rules does not count. The only thing that seems to count is whether you can afford to ignore the consequences. Hayes stepped forward. Here is what is going to happen. Humanity is done being the Council's punching bag. We will continue to follow the actual laws, the ones that matter, the ones about not committing genocide or enslaving species or destroying inhabited worlds. But these stupid little fines for saving lives or speaking too loudly or hurting someone's feelings, we are done. File them, frame them, hang them on your wall. We do not care anymore. This is unacceptable, Velcrin managed to say. You know what else is unacceptable? Hayes's voice had gone quiet, which was somehow worse than if he had shouted. Watching 260 people almost die because we were supposed to follow proper protocol. Losing 4,000 colonists to toxic waste and getting nothing but a sorry, our bad. Being told we are too violent, too aggressive, too loud, too everything, while we do the jobs nobody else wants to do. That's unacceptable, Velcrin. We are just finally saying it out loud. The chamber stayed silent for a long moment. Then High Chancellor Moore 6 did something unprecedented. He turned off the sound dampeners and spoke directly, without filters or translators. The Council will take a recess. We will discuss this matter and reconvene in 3 solar cycles. Hayes nodded once, sharp and final. You do that. We will be in our quarters. Not paying any fines. As the humans walked out, every species in that chamber watched them go. Some looked angry. Some looked confused. A few, like Ambassador Kirin of Telvoria, looked something else entirely. They looked impressed. Outside in the corridor, Tanaka finally let out the breath she had been holding. Well, we either just changed the galaxy or ended our diplomatic careers. Possibly both. Hayes allowed himself a small smile. Worth it either way. Think they will actually change anything? Probably not. Hayes shrugged. But at least they know we are done asking nicely. Behind them, through the chamber doors, they could hear the Council erupting into chaos again. Arguments in 14 different languages, translators screaming, accusations flying like weapons fire. The humans kept walking. They had said their piece. Now it was time to see if anyone had actually been listening.
Hello everyone. If you are enjoying this video and finding it helpful, don't forget to support our channel. Please subscribe to our channel, press the like button, and share this video with your friends and family. Also, make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos. We regularly upload amazing, informative, and entertaining content just for you. Your support means a lot to us and motivates us to bring even better content in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and welcome to our growing community.